Hi, my name is Sally Barnard, an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer. Welcome to Call Me Zena, a true story into the spiritual realms. Join me as I sit and discuss the journey of self-discovery and awakening with the help of my spirit guides. It's time to trust your intuition. This is your inner knowings. Through questions and points of conversation, I can help others feel empowered. With the ability to touch people's past lives, I help others connect and not feel alone. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I hope everybody had a wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving. I did, and it was time to reflect on a lot of things, and I'm very, very grateful for my life today. Well, we're here once again. It's Monday at 3 o'clock. Please feel free to call in 888-994-9445. I'm here to answer any questions that you want me to talk about. So please give me a call, okay? I'm sitting right here in the studio, okay?
Give the number again.
Okay, the number is 888-994-4995, Studio A. Please call in. I would love to hear from you. Well, it's this time of the day. Do we have some people in the audience here to give me some questions? Hello? I think we have one coming in right now.
We have a question coming in. People are writing in and asking, what is the greater message that you are sharing?
Well, my message is basically to show people from example from who I am and what has happened to me, to show you, and I always have said this right from the very beginning, anything is possible. I actually have been able to see this as best I can. If you want to, I believe it's very difficult to understand that these things do happen, but there's so much going on in what I call beyond the veil, that they give us messages. So I have listened over, I wasn't always this way, but I have listened very much, and so much has happened to me. So I spread this word by example. So hopefully by what I talk about here and are able to answer your questions, you can see a little bit beyond what we see in our world today. There is so much going on. So hopefully that answered the question. Just believe. If you believe, you don't have to understand it. Just know that there is so much more, which I have followed that example. Was I always this way? Absolutely not. But over the last, I'm going to say 15 years, so much has been validated to me that they're talking to us. They're trying to show us that there's so much more. Listen. And some of my poetry is that. I didn't know what I was writing at the time, but just listen and you'll hear things and follow that.
Sally, is it true that people that ask you questions, each one, depending on who it is, whether it's male, female, in a relationship, out of a relationship, if they were each to ask the same question, would you have different answers or the same answer?
Probably yes, because we're all at different levels of vibrational energy. I believe we're energy. So the question is coming from the energy of that person. So what I might answer with someone, let's say, that has an energy that's a little higher, that has a more comprehension of what I'm talking about, I may answer in a slightly different way, because the person, and there's nothing wrong in having a lower or higher vibration. We're all on a journey, so I'm not saying that that's right or wrong, but they may not be able to comprehend what I might be able to answer on a slightly higher vibration. So the answer might be a little different. It would probably be the same answer, but put a little differently, if you can understand that.
So part two of the question is, somebody who is on a higher plane, a higher vibration, as you call it, will see the answer to the question differently than somebody who's not?
Will they receive the answer to the... It'll be a similar answer, because there is an answer, but it's what they're able to comprehend themselves. When I first started this journey, I had my guide, as people know that have tuned into my program, that I had someone here that was able to teach me. What I was able to understand then, 20 years ago, is very different to how I can foresee things now and understand and comprehend my answers today. It's basically where we are on our vibrational energy. it's the same answer, but let's say this, it's the same answer but put a little differently. It's where we can understand, basically, because if we don't understand, the answer's not going to mean anything. So the way that I can answer, hopefully people will understand what I'm saying. But
Do the answers always define how it clarifies your path of your journey?
the answers will, yes, because they're here to help us. I'm calling them on the other side of the veil. I bring them in, especially in this show, and they're here to answer. But they can only give me what I'm able to understand. As I go along on my journey, I'm getting higher vibrational energy from some people. I'm able to understand it. However, it's harder for me to pass that on if someone is, and again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong in being a lower vibration. We just haven't come to that point. So what I will answer, hopefully in the way that the person that's answering the question to me will be able to understand what I'm saying, even if I'm coming from a slightly higher vibration. It'll be put correctly to them.
But you will help people if they want to know when they find their perfect soulmate or if their perfect job. But your calling is more of a spiritual awakening.
Yes, it is. But then again, people that call in, the majority, I'm going to say, of people right now, and I was the same. They want to know what's going to go on in their lives. Who are they going to meet? Where are they going to go? What is their next job? Or are they happy in their job? Is it the right place? I am able to do that, Dawn. I'm also able to give them maybe a little bit more, going into it a little deeply. But everybody is where they're at. So if someone wants to give me a question of what's going on their day-to-day life, I'm happy to answer. If they want to know what maybe that's going to be in the future of what's going on in the world today, it seems to be that I'm able to answer that too.
Why do you think people are such a collective of anxiety?
Because we are what we feel around us. We take those vibrational energies in. Right now, the anxiety level on the earth today is very high. There's a lot going on. Again, you listen to the news and there's nothing wrong. I am a great person of saying, listen to the news, because we do need to know. We need to be here physically in this world, but don't absorb all that anxiety from people. So look at it. My way of explaining that is to observe what's going on. If you look what's going on in the world today and be the observer, if you can help, yes, but it's hard, to say what can we do, but just look at it as if it's a dream. That's the way that I see it. So look at it as a dream. Can we change that dream at any point? Yes, we can. As long as you believe that you can. You can't do it if you don't believe. But if you believe and you don't like what's going on, put good vibrations out there. If something horrible has happened into this world, yes, you have to hear it, but try to go and look at it and observe it and put good vibrational energy there, because that's all we can do right now.
Someone just wrote in, how do you know if someone is telling the truth about their feelings?
Well, I'm an empath, so I'm not saying everybody has, again, I have no ego, but I have the ability to feel what someone's doing. So if someone is not being truthful, actually they're not being truthful to themselves. It doesn't matter what I feel, but when you feel how you feel, be truthful to yourself. It doesn't matter it's hard to say, it doesn't matter what people think. But if you're honest, honesty is very important, very important.
I'm wondering if maybe they're meaning like in a relationship. If you're feeling one way about a person and they're telling you, yes, everything's great, but you know in your heart it just doesn't feel right, do you go with your gut?
Yes, I would say so, yes, because you're getting some indication even to say, well, this doesn't sound right. So again, express. Words are really important. It's very important to communicate. Communication is one of the most important things. When you communicate, you have to be honest with that person. Otherwise, you're lying to that person. You're lying not only to that person, but you're lying to yourself.
Here's another question. What is one single thing we should do as humans during our own span of life? That's from Christian.
one single thing that we should do in our lifetime here. That's correct?
Yep.
Okay. Well, we get feelings if we're on the right track. And so my answer to that would be follow your gut feeling. Continue with what you're doing on your journey. Excuse me. If you feel that we get indications of that. If we're on the wrong track, we'll find that a lot of obstacles will come in the way. Listen to those obstacles, okay? And continue. I'm going to cough, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
A true story, Call Me Zena is the telling of Sally Barnard. Born in London, England at the end of the Second World War, she came to the U.S. in 1979. A mother of 2 and grandmother of 4, she settled in Florida and worked in real estate. While going through a difficult time in her life, she was admitted into a hospital overnight in December of 2005. While settling back into her life, she began having vivid dreams and documenting them. By the 3rd dream, a lady gave her a message to draw. With no artistic background or interest in art or history, Sally listened to her dreams and grabbed paper and crayons. Today, she has over 150 pieces of inspiring art and poetry. This book follows her journey and interpretations of these messages. She describes in detail how she's able to astral project and who she has met along her travels, including her spirit guides. This book will show you how anything is possible with an open mind. These events have changed Sally's life's direction, and this book will show you how to change yours. Purchase Call Me Zena on Amazon today.
This world, this life, this illusion. What is going on, we ask? What is happening? Why not take time and see what is happening? This world as we know it, it seems so real, and yet so far away from where we've come. Corruption, greed, anger, power, revenge. Please wake up. We can change what is around us. How, we may ask? Learn to go back to where we were. Then we will have the clues. Then we can change and go forward. Please take the time. Do not fall into the game which we have put upon ourselves. We can change. We can make a difference. We have the power, each and every one of us. Go in peace. Go with love. Go as one. Zena. You have been watching Call Me Zena with your host, Sally Barnard. As an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer, know that you could always seek me out for resources. Visit artbysallybarnard.com today. Now, back to the show. Hello, everybody. Back to the questions, okay? We were having fun.
I have a question to follow up what Dawn had asked. She asked in personal life, like, you know, you're trying to date somebody, are they being honest? I'm thinking more in the business sense. When you make a deal with people, do you make a deal with somebody to make a deal? Do you make a good deal? You make a bad deal to make a deal? Do you trust what other people in the business? Because business is different than relationships.
Yes.
You're not marrying the person you're doing business with. How do you approach that on the same level? Same question.
Well, that's interesting because there is a difference, obviously, from a personal to a business point of view. The business point of view is, again, it's follow your gut instincts. Ask the questions. Don't always anticipate an answer. When someone answers you, they're coming from where they're coming from. So if you feel that the two answers are connected, your question and your answer are connecting, and you feel comfortable with that, I would say you're on the right track. If their question and your answer is going to be a different vibration, you're going to feel a little bit, well, you might want to know more. But if that continues, so does the vibrational energy. So again, it's all how you feel. Be aware of that. If you're feeling uncomfortable with what someone is asking you and your answer is not the way that you're feeling, it's not flowing correctly, that's the best way to put it. Then think about that. Take a step back, think about what you're doing, and then continue maybe 5 minutes later, maybe even the next day. It's important to listen to yourself from both points of view, actually. Does that make sense to you?
It does, but I think that it's too personal when you take your feelings into a deal. So my question is, how do you keep the emotion out of the deal in order to make the deal?
Step back, look at it again. I like to use the word observe what you're doing, if you can. So even if you have, it's good. I don't write down necessarily what I'm going to talk about, but have the questions available somewhere. And as you ask, continue, as long as it's flowing correctly. If there's something wrong, we get indications. That's all I can tell you. We definitely do. We get a gut feeling that something isn't gelling, so to speak. So if you're feeling that, then question yourself at that point. Take time, step back, and think about it. Because if it's wrong, and I believe we've planned out what we're meant to do, but we also have free will. So if we're going along, so to speak, on the wrong path, we are going to feel that. Use your gut feeling. If something isn't feeling right, I'm not going to say all the time, but usually you're correct. But we don't always listen to ourselves. Listen.
Do you ever feel something's not right, but it's not about you, it's about somebody else? But yet they're
Absolutely.
so happy about their situation. Do you say something or do you not?
That's a very tricky question. Do you or do you not? Because be aware of that. Try to lead them into, that's very difficult to do, because if someone, let's say, is extremely happy about what they're doing, but you're getting a gut feeling that it may not be right, ask them things that they may not be aware of so that they can see your point of view. It's very hard to, because people will back away. Dawn, definitely. When you tell them something that you might see and they don't want to hear it, our gut reaction as humans here on Earth is to, if they feel they're right and they're happy, they're going to back away. So do it gradually so that they're becoming aware of it. You don't want to give somebody the whole thing of what you're feeling, because they're not, most of the time people don't really want to hear what they don't want to hear, so they're not going to listen. So the best way to do that is to approach it from your point of view, but gradually. Just say, well, if you're, with what they're doing, I mean, it's very open-ended because it could be many things. Are you sure? Just look at it. Tell them to go with caution a little bit, but people don't like to hear that, including myself. We don't.
Here's your next question from Shelley. How do you know if you are growing personally, or how do you know you are on the right track?
Again, it's a feeling. I mean, I've been doing this quite a little while now. In the beginning, I honestly didn't have any idea what was happening to me, but I was feeling comfortable. I was able to do things. We get a lot of help. Let me just tell you this too. From what I honestly feel, we get a lot of help from the other side. I'm going to call it the other side of the veil. They're doing everything for us to follow our path. Not everybody is ready, but when I say that not everyone is ready, they're not going to push you into something that you're not ready to do. I feel very comfortable today. I do this a lot. I love talking to people and explaining it. And I'm getting more comfortable doing this because I feel I'm on the right path with what I'm doing. But we're not all there. I wasn't ready to do this 20 years ago. I had things happen to me as far as my art and of understanding more. Many things of validation were happening to me. But we wake up, so to speak, and that's an expression we use here, at various times in our life. And many people go through this lifetime and they're just not waking up, and that's fine too. But you'll feel within yourself that you're on the right journey of what we're doing. It's something you feel comfortable with. And not only that, the people that are on that journey with you, and I know this sounds crazy, but it's happened to me, will come into your life on this journey. You will meet people that's more validation for you to know that you're on the right track. You'll suddenly say to yourself, and I do too, as much as I've had a lot of validation, well, my goodness, how did that person come in at that split second of what I'm thinking, and they're here standing in front of me? It happens. but be aware that it happens, and you know you're on the right path.
Sally, what do you do when somebody tries, how do I say this? Somebody tries to tell you how to behave and how to be and the things that you should do, and you don't agree with anything that they tell you, and it becomes a confrontation because somebody's obviously trying to tell you how to act, whether they use guilt, manipulation, threats, lies, or exaggeration. All of these things. What does that tell you about having any kind of contact with a person that does that?
Okay, the first word that comes into my mind is control. We cannot control anyone else. So if you feel that someone is doing that and they're trying to get into your life to tell you what's best for you, you know there's something going on. We can't change anybody, and we're not meant to change anybody. Be true to yourself. You do what you want to do. And eventually, if that person does not understand that, then you know usually they go on to someone else that they can control. Is it right or wrong? I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm not the judge of this. But I know that I personally cannot be controlled. I was for many years. I can't be today. Be true to yourself, and everything will turn out right for you, not necessarily the other person, because they still have a lesson to learn. We all have lessons to learn. So if you feel that, you have to move on.
That's right. You cut your losses and move on. I was just about to ask you.
Exactly.
And you shouldn't feel guilty about doing that.
No, absolutely not. And I'm going to say that from someone that had all these insecurities. I was controlled very much many years ago in my life. So I'm able to talk from experience here. It's not easy, but I did wake up to that. Touching what I have now absolutely validates what I'm doing. Everybody is at a different stage of learning, and actually you're helping the other person. If you move on with your life, and it may not be what that person wanted because they're trying to control you, but ultimately you're actually helping the other person too if they're ready to learn.
Here's the next question. Is it okay to think a parent didn't do a good job, or do we have to always look up to our mom and dad?
No, it's okay. From my point of view, it's okay to know that they didn't do a good job because that's where they are at. We can't blame someone if they, just because suddenly they're a parent, they don't know, it's written in books, but they may not have the ability to do that. As long as they're trying to do the best that they can. And that can be very little, it can be a lot, it can be overwhelming for a parent. So try not as best you can to judge your parents, because it's only what they're able to do. Yes, we hear horrific stories, and that's horrible. And do we forgive? That's debatable too. But if we don't, we're only carrying on with what's going on in our lifetime that was bad, and we're carrying it with us today. We're only hurting ourselves at that point. Okay, and this is just my point of view, but I've had quite a lot of experiences in a lot of what we're talking about, and I've followed my path and I'm understanding more, and if I can spread that message to people to understand more, then I'm doing my job by example.
If there's a conflict between a parent and a child, even as an adult, better to forgive or just ignore and move on?
No, I think it's better to forgive, but we can't, it's easy to say these things. We can't always do that. But for both parties, it's better to forgive because we're carrying something that's bothering us. We want to, as they say, live in the now and have a happy life. So if something happened to us in our childhood from a parent, and it happens many times, we don't want to necessarily carry that through the rest of our lives because we're not going to be happy. We're always going to think about that. So if the parent is alive, and sometimes they're not, try to forgive. It's not easy. And some of these situations, and I know everybody's had a past of some kind, and it's hard, but if you can forgive that person, and it's not easy, ultimately we're going to be happier. I don't know whether they're going to be happier because that's their journey, But from my point of view, if I can forgive some of the things that have happened to me, and I'm going to say from my past with my parents, they didn't know better at that time. So they're both gone now, but I forgive them for what they didn't know, and I feel better.
Does that change you as a person for your children and your grandchildren?
Yes, it does, because we're now starting another journey of forgiveness. It's not all what we would say exactly the way we want it. Of course it's not. We're here to learn. So we're continually getting things happen to us that but if our journey now, for me too, actually is forgiveness, then I need to continue to forgive, because otherwise I'm stopping my journey into forgiveness. So it's better there's always 2 points of view. So if we can look how the other person is behaving because they don't know better, if we know better and we want to forgive, then try to forgive. It's not easy. This is not an easy life.
Is your collective showing you that things are more difficult now?
Yes, because actually, as far as I can see, I mean, if anybody that can relate to the 3rd and 5th dimension, we're moving into a higher vibrational energy. What actually is happening, that more things in this 3D dimension are surfacing. So many things around us are more prevalent. They're coming more into focus. So the best thing to do is just to sit back, experience that, and try to understand somebody else's point of view or your own point of view. Vibrational energy right now is shifting. It's shifting to a higher consciousness, but we're not already there. From what they're telling me, not everybody is ready to receive this higher connection, higher vibrational energy. For the ones that are, they're going to understand a little bit more. As I am now, it's speeding up very much too. But that doesn't mean that, again, I don't want to say because you're not seeing that there's anything wrong with you. It's where we are. But things are getting a little more difficult for us to understand more quicker, let's say. There is no time on the other side, but they're speeding us up a little bit for the ones that want to understand.
People are writing in, how do I attract good vibrations?
Well, let's do this simply. Just try to be positive with a lot of things, because that will attract good vibrational energy. Again, I'm not saying this is an easy path, because it's not. And many things happen and you say to yourself, well, how can I be positive? But if you can be aware of that, try to see what's happening and turn it into, because if you continue along the path of being negative with what's happening to you that's negative, I truly believe that more negativity is going to come to you. If you can just lift that little bit of vibrational energy and turn it into a positive, you will begin to see that other things will happen, not just the bad things that are happening to you at that particular time.
Sally, I noticed that as time has gone on, your energies are shifting. Do you have the ability when you walk into a room to sort of sense what's going on in there as you walk into it?
Yes, I do. I'm an empath, but when I said that maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I knew what an empath was that could feel vibrational energy. But it also takes practice, and I'm very much aware of being an empath. So when I walk into a room and I feel that the vibrational energy is not the way that it should be, that it's out of sync, so to speak, I feel that. And the more you practice this, but I can only again talk for myself, but I believe that this is true. The more that I feel it, the more that I can attach myself to it. So I'm feeling more, but I'm able to handle it better today than I was.
And does everybody have the ability to learn that?
They absolutely do, Freddie. I'm going to say I'm not special. I've tuned into something and I've had help. We all do, but having said that, we're not all ready to do that. That we're able to, but we choose what we're going to learn in this lifetime. And one of the things might be to experience more by not knowing what I'm knowing, because it's hard to set a balance here, to be in this world and to understand as much as I'm able to. There's still a long way that I have to go to understand more, but we have to find that balance. And we may not be prepared or ready to do that at this time. It's up to us. We'll know.
And I've seen that you've met some people in here who have the ability to be on the same plane. And they've even said it, that they can totally relate to what you're saying. Is that something that they were born with or something that they've learned?
Well, it's like a meeting place here. So someone, let's say, let me see if I can do this correctly, that's on the vibrational energy that I am on right now, will somehow feel, I'm going to say locally, because they're not necessarily going to fly a plane and land in this place. But if they're nearby, that vibrational energy goes out. So it'll attract people to come into where you are. I'm going to use the studio as an example because that's where I am right now. And people can find me easily and they will be attracted to come here. Something will say, let's tune in to the Brooklyn Cafe, anything. But if they follow what they're following, they're tuning into that particular, it's like a radio station. We tune into that vibrational energy.
This says, what are you living for and what do you value most?
Well, first and foremost is to enjoy your life as best you can. So I'm living for a good, happy life, but it doesn't always turn out that way. Mine is going in the right direction because I'm aware of it. I value most, I'm grateful for what I have today. I mean, I have my past, and my book will be out shortly, is that I had everything, I lost everything, and I'm gaining it back. And that's not always materialistic things. It's many things. It's learning I'm grateful for what I'm able to tap in today. I wouldn't change my life for anything as far as that is. I have to have a balance, so I'm grateful to know that I have to have a balance. We can't go through life with it just happy, happy, happy. That's not even what we're really meant to do because we're here to learn. But when we start to begin that and we begin to be grateful for what we're achieving, be it a business, be it a friendship, be it anything, be it more money, whatever you want, be grateful for it. I feel and Thanksgiving is here, not around the corner. We've just had Thanksgiving. Give time to thank what we have. Just be thankful for what we're able to be. Be happy to be alive because we're not here that long. Just enjoy what we can. Enjoy it, understand it, and go with this journey if you can, if you want.
Do you feel the more spiritual you become or people become, the less materialistic things that are important?
Yes, because you have a different idea of what's important to you. I mean, health is important, and we all say that, but it's other things too. And there's nothing wrong, because at one point, if I wanted something and I was beginning my journey, I said to myself, well, that's not really spiritual. Let's say that I wanted more money than what I was making. But today I'm understanding, yes, if it's going to give me what I want, I want to have a happy life, I want my health, and I actually want to travel, which is happening to me too. But we're all at different levels, but there's nothing wrong in wanting things. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm learning that.
Here's another write-in. If you feel one way about a person and they say they don't feel the same way about you, but their actions are otherwise, what do you do in that situation? I guess it's a conflict between what they're saying and what they're doing.
Okay. It's okay to say I don't know, actually, on how you are feeling, because you can, if you're an empath or you're feeling and sensing something, there's somebody, can you just give me that again? I'm sorry.
There's two questions, one on the table, one on the TV that says, is it okay to say I don't know when someone asks you how you're feeling?
Yes, it's perfectly okay to say I don't know. We don't know everything. Absolutely, just say I'm sorry, I don't know.
And then the second one is, if you're in a relationship and you feel strong about a person and they say they don't feel the same way, but their actions speak otherwise, how do you read that situation? Well,
there's a mixed emotion here. If someone is telling you that they love you, but their way of loving might be different to your way, the best thing is to be open with this whole thing. If someone's doing something that you feel that it may not be love, but they may not understand that and think that's the way that they're showing love, how are you going to express what's right and wrong? You have to communicate. The most important thing is to communicate, and then your answers will come. If you don't talk about it, let's say it's a problem. If someone says they love you and they're not giving you the actions towards that, you need to talk about it. Why are they not doing necessarily what you want, but it might not be what they want, so you can meet halfway.
Can you be in a relationship where one person is more spiritual than the other and it still work?
Well, okay, I'm going to say yes, because I believe if, for myself personally, and I always seem to bring Steve into this, when we first met, I think he must have thought, totally, what am I getting into? He didn't know, but the more I talked about what was happening to me, somehow it was happening to him too. So we connected there. But again, I personally don't know if I could have been, and I'm going to say Steve, if he didn't continue this journey with me. It's not everything in my life. It does not necessarily define my life, but it is part of my life, and that's a big difference. It's part of my life. It doesn't define who I am. I'm still here. I have to go on and do what I do. But as I'm doing that, so many amazing validations are coming to me. And with my partner, which is Steve, the same are happening to him too, because they're working for us on the other side.
As a psychic, can you read yourself?
Not always, no. I can because I feel certain things, but usually my messages are for somebody else.
Did you know Steve was coming back?
Into my life? No, I did not know. And the most amazing thing too is he came in after my guide who was here, if you know anything about me and you've been listening, which is Aldo. He never mentioned Steve to me either. So I don't know how much we're really meant to know about our life. If there's a specific question and we go to a psychic that's going to benefit by us knowing it, the psychic will come up with the answer. Maybe had I have known that someone like Steve was coming into my life, I would be looking too much. It happened very quickly. So I'm not sure about the answer to that. I think maybe I don't read myself because I'm not meant to, actually. If I want to know something, I will go to a psychic myself.
Sally, people are in a relationship, to go back to the question from before, and a relationship is supposed to be part of your journey. So if somebody does not want to be as part of your journey, then you should move on, or are you going to break apart, or are you going to be hurting yourself mentally because that other entity doesn't want to be part of your journey? I'm a little confused.
Okay, mentally, that person is not on the same vibrational energy as you, and you will know that. I think it's time to move on in a relationship, because obviously you may have come together. Again, we have free will, but if you find that there's so many different things that you're that far apart and it's just not working out, absolutely move on, because we're here to find happiness too. And if we're both on, again, I'm going to use energy, we're on different vibrations, they're not going to understand you as you're not going to understand that person. That's why it was important for me to have Steve understand where I'm coming from, and they've helped him and he's getting validations. As much as I love him, if we were not on that same path, I don't think we could be together.
And can we use that example also in business? If you do something with a client and it just doesn't work for you, or it's constant battles, then is it okay to say, you know what, you're going to have to go your way? Is it the same level of intensity? Because I'm not saying to this client I love them, but is it okay without feeling guilty to tell a client we have to move on?
Absolutely, Freddie. And the worst thing is that because we are, well, for me also, I'm programmed to feel guilt. But however, no, do what you feel best. If it's not for you, it won't be just that one particular thing that you're feeling. You know what? It's going to happen time and time again till you get the message that you're on the wrong track. Again, if it's the right track, we're not always correct with our feelings. A lot of good things will start to happen, but be very aware of that. If you are on the right track, wrong track, split paths, definitely, absolutely.
And isn't it important for you to feel good you first before you tackle anything else?
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. I call that being true to yourself, because if you're feeling good about something, what usually follows is good things happen. People, places, and things happen to you. They happen. Can I understand and explain that? No, but if you think that they're working for us from powers, let's say from the other side that we're not aware of, all these things will connect. It's up to us what we do with them, but our feelings help us understand.
Here's another write-in from Katie. Do you think that being spiritual is different from being religious?
Yes, personally, for myself, yes, I do. I mean, whatever you feel, to me, it's important to just know that there's something more. I'm not a religious person. I call myself a spiritual person. What is the difference? Again, I don't want to offend anybody. If you're religious, that's okay too. But for me, I feel that it's too organized. With spirituality, it's a difficult question to answer. I'm, if you want to say, more spiritual than I'm religious. But there are different points of view on that, and I'm not here to change anyone's point of view. But with spirituality, it's more, I don't feel like I'm being controlled in any particular way. It's who I am and what I do. Again, I'm not here to criticize religion. I'm not here to do that.
Because there are no rules for spirituality.
Right.
Here's another question. What is the greatest quality humans possess?
Okay, it's being alive, actually, being able to be here and live here as humans. People say we're spiritual beings we're having a human experience. The greatest quality is to be aware of that, to know that we are more than what we are here. Just know that. And if you can tap into that, that's whether you call that a quality or a gift, I don't know, but it's a great way to go through your life.
Accountability, the word accountability, spiritually, religiously, which is more in depth?
Accountability, well, if you're religious, it's important to you. My accountability comes more from what I would call a spiritual level than what I've read in books. I haven't read this in books. It's just come to me.
Is this towards yourself or other people?
Well, I can only talk for myself, from what I feel, from religion to spirituality. For me, I was not brought up religiously. I'm Jewish by faith, and I love my Jewish traditions, but I don't follow a lot of what the Jewish religion has taught me, I guess, because I haven't read a lot about it. My spirituality comes to me without reading anything. It's just there. It's who I am. It's what I feel. Does that take away from me being Jewish? No, not at all. I think we're all, doesn't matter what religion we are, we're all here. I mean, just because someone may not be Jewish doesn't mean that say that I'm going to go, well, you're not Jewish, so you're not going to understand me. I think we should all understand each other. But that's part of the spirituality of this.
What do you think your greatest strength is?
My greatest strength is to be able to now understand and have the feelings that we mask a lot of our feelings. So I'm able to come out with my feelings today, be honest. Honesty is very important. I'm not going to say I was a dishonest person, but I wasn't honest with myself. So my greatest quality today is to be honest. If someone asks me a question, I am who I am. I have to express who I am. And I think ultimately the other person may not always like that, but it'll give them something to think about. I have to be who I am today, and that's expressing in every way who I am.
And what is your weakest quality?
I guess I'm still gullible in many ways, but I'm aware of that. I mean, I'm very trusting of people. I've always been that way. So whether it's a good or bad thing, but be aware that I'm aware that I'm very trusting. So this is who we are as humans. Sometimes, for instance, I'll give you a very good example of that. I go in, and I was in sales for many years, and I go in to buy a car, and this has happened to me every single time. And this isn't against car people that are selling cars, because that's their job. But I believe a lot of what they're saying, which is happening, which is what they want to tell me. But it might not be the car that I want, let's say that. So I'm now seeing all the good qualities in a car that I didn't want to see. It may be a beautiful car, but it wasn't the one I went in for. So this is part of my weakness. I am still gullible. Does that make sense? I mean, that's what they're telling me, to use that expression as a car, because I'll buy the wrong car. But it might.
Did you believe what they're saying?
Because, and it's not that they're lying, but they're giving me all the qualities of that car. But I might not have wanted all those qualities. I guess that's a good analogy in a way.
It's a good analogy. Here's another write-in. Is it okay to be quiet, or do I have to involve myself in conversations with other people?
Okay, it's perfectly okay to be quiet. Many, many times I can be in a situation and people might want to know more about what I do, and I will talk. But there's also a time that I have to be quiet too. Absolutely be quiet. That's been true to yourself too. We're not always there to talk to everybody. It's good.
Do you think when people ask, how are you, or what do you do, they actually truly listen? Or are they so too quick these days to tell you about themselves?
Well, we're human. And one of the things is, have a nice day. Do they really, really care whether you're going to have a nice day? No. So it's just expressions, you know. So, and of course, everybody is not in that particular mode. Someone can say, have a nice day, and they truly want to know what's going wrong with your day or what's going right. But, you know, just take it lightly. Just, you know, I'm having a good, as long as you're positive. If I'm not having a good day, I'm still wanting to say, and it's not really, it's a little gray area, I'm having a good day, because do they want to hear my problems? No.
Well, hold on, let me flip the script here,
Please.
because I'm entitled to be honest. So if you're asking me something you really don't care, and I say you really don't care, am I wrong for being honest?
No, not at all, because honesty becomes first. Honesty is first.
I have to be honest to myself.
That's right, to be true to thyself, absolutely. So, I mean, it's an open-ended question in a way, but the first thing to do is be honest, absolutely. If you're not having a good day, just say, well, I'm not having a good day, but you probably might not want to hear about it.
Well, then part two to that question, am I allowed to say, I'd rather not deal with this person because you're going to get the truth? And a lot of people can't handle the truth. So is it better to walk away?
Yes. I think so. Without being really rude, yes, if we can do it in a certain way, because if you can feel someone's energy, 9 times out of 10, not always, that person may want to talk about themselves. But if you're not having a good day and they start, you don't necessarily want to hear it, because it's going to bring you down to a lower vibration. So the best thing to do is, in my opinion, is to excuse yourself in the best way. You don't want to make their day worse.
So rude coming in this direction towards me, I'm not supposed to give rude back.
If rude is coming to you, okay. Well,
Because this is something that happens in this business every single day.
well, I'm not, yes, this is difficult for me to answer, but I'll answer it the best way that I can. If someone is rude to you, you're entitled to be rude, but maybe in a higher vibrational way.
In a positive way?
If you can be rude in a positive way, yes. This is a difficult answer, okay? But I think you're getting what I'm saying, okay? And you know, you don't have to listen to someone that's rude.
Yes, but sometimes it's difficult to be able to do what you need to do when you're constantly running into these people that have these pockets of whatever the reason is that they do what they do.
Because they're having a lot of people, and I can't tell you that this is right or wrong, but if they're having, misery likes company. That's the thing they're saying to me. Misery likes company. So if you don't want to be at that level, then walk away or change the subject.
Here's another question. Where does happiness come from?
Within, comes from within. You've got to be happy with yourself. If you're not happy with yourself, it's very hard to express happiness.
Well, if happiness comes from within, and you're happy being spiritual, and you're happy with your fairies and your angels, but other people around you think you should be happy doing something else, or you should be happy climbing a 10-foot ladder and going skydiving. But happiness comes from within. So where you said before, you have to do what works for you first. But how do you do what works for you first when everyone else is pulling a piece?
Well, because, I mean, if I'm happy, but if you asked me to go skydiving, I would be unhappy because that's not what I want to do. So you do what pleases you. It may not necessarily be what the other person wants. Their happiness be coming from skydiving. Great, go ahead, be happy. I'm going to lay on the beach and get some sun. So you do what you feel is for you, which brings you happiness. Everybody is different. We're all different. And we're also on all different levels of learning. So what you want to do that brings you happiness, you don't have to explain that to anybody. You go ahead and do it. What that other person, I could say, well, you're crazy. What do you want to skydive for? But I'm not going to change their mind. That's their happiness. So we do what we want to do. And we usually meet people. If I'm out, I probably meet a few people that want to go on the beach with me. And that person that wants to go skydiving will probably meet people that want to skydive. It works that way.
What about if people try to criticize or bend the people that you associate with?
Don't let it happen, because they don't. If you're associating with people that you're friendly with, nobody can judge what you're feeling. If someone is your friend, if there happens to be something wrong perhaps with that friend, but you're not seeing it, sooner or later you might. But you do what you want to do. We can't change people. If we start trying to change people, we're controlling people. That's not good. We all do it. We do it to a certain extent until we're aware that we're doing it.
And what do you think now that we're going into the holiday season, where people have lost loved ones and they're thinking about them more now? You have to spend holidays with people you may not want to. Important to go, or more important to stay in touch with who you are and what you believe in?
Again, that's a little difficult because holiday time we are inclined, we make jokes about that. You sit at a table with your relatives. We may not have a lot in common with them, but we're doing what we feel is the correct thing to do. Holidays is a little different. I don't know the answer to that. We don't always get along with our relatives. We can have friends that we get along with, but it's a personal choice. Sometimes we can just sit there because it's the right thing to do. I wouldn't say do it all year round, and I wouldn't say don't go or go. That's a personal choice. May not be the exact answer, but that's what I'm hearing.
For holidays. And those that you feel closest to, souls that are maybe from past lives, those that we want to be with?
Yeah, usually yes, because if you've had good experiences in other lifetimes with someone, that still carries over from this lifetime. And somehow, and I can't explain how it happens, but I know it does, we meet people from other lifetimes. And when you get that feeling, you say hello to someone, and you feel like, do I know you from somewhere? Or as I get goosebumps, as I'm getting them right now, you could probably see them, we're remembering what we don't really remember. We're remembering something.
And I know before you talked about the time travel, the time continuum. I met a gentleman yesterday who said, it's already been written and it will happen, but you have to take the actions for it to happen. You can't sit in your house.
I go along with that. I definitely go along with that. It will happen. Again, we have free will. So if we choose to sit in our house, it won't happen, but that's our choice. But if we go out to meet that situation, whatever it is, because we don't always know, it will happen. But you've also got to make that move. Sitting alone in your house is not going to bring what you have decided. If you go out somehow, somewhere, it will happen.
So you think it's all predestined, pre-written?
Mostly, yes, it is, but we don't always follow the same path for many different reasons. And again, I would like to do a show like on alternative universes or, on different timelines. We have a path mapped out for us. But again, because we have free will, and I'm absolutely certain of that, we can diversify from that path. It'll bring us back to that path, but we don't always follow exactly. We have the list of what, if you want to say we've written our path, but it doesn't always happen.
Here's another question. How do you keep your mind in the present when you know you did something bad in the past?
Okay, you be in what we often hear, be in your now. So whatever you did in your past, if you're aware of it and it was bad, don't repeat it. It happened. We can't change what happened. So we have to accept that. But if we're now in my now, as I try to be most of the time, and I did something in my past that I didn't like, I'm not going to be thinking about it. However, if a similar situation occurs and I recognize that and say, well, I would have done it a different way in my past, I'm now in my now, so I'm going to look at it from a different point of view and go ahead and do it differently. It's the only best way that I can explain that from them.
From a different perspective.
From a different perspective, because you can't change your past. You can accept your past and move forward, because if you're continually in your past, you're bringing it into your present. We don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. We're not learning.
And you can look at the same situation from different points of view.
Absolutely, because the more we grow, the more we see it from a different point of view. I even saw that with my artwork in the very beginning. I didn't know what I was doing, but now I understand. I would draw something and not have any idea what it was. But I could see something in that. If someone was on my vibrational energy, they'll see exactly what I see. Someone else won't see it.
Different perspective.
Different
artwork.
perspective. So they're growing. Or someone could see more than what, as Aldo did, more than what I was drawing. I didn't see it, but he saw it.
Have
So
you
that
ever
was-
met anyone else that's had a guide?
Well, we all have guides, but I've actually never met anyone that a guide materialized as I did for 18 years in my lifetime. I'm absolutely certain, 100%, because he told me that. I didn't understand it, but since he's passed, I understand it more and more today. And he's still with me. We all have guides, but not all of them materialize into this world.
Ever wonder why you had that?
Because I was ready to wake up in this lifetime. He told me that. I didn't know that, and I was not aware of that until he actually came into my life. But he told me that I had chosen to wake up in this lifetime. By waking up is to understand more on my spiritual journey. For people might say, well, what, are you sleeping? Well, in a way we are, until we begin to understand that we're waking up. Am I invited to your wedding? Who is this? I don't know who you are. Katie, we have limited space. I would invite everybody, but I can't because it's a restaurant. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. I will be here next week. Please call into the studio, 888-994-4995, Studio A. If you think of anything during the week, write it down, and I'm here to answer you next week. Thank you very much. And you can visit my website, which is artbysally.com, and you can email me, sallybarnard111@gmail.com. Thank you very much, and have a great day and a great week. Coincidence or not, it's time to trust your intuition and knowings. Thank you for joining me through this journey of self-discovery and awakening with the help of my spirit guides. I'm Sally Barnard, and you can find my book, artwork, and contact through artbysallybarnard.com. Join us next week. This has been Call Me Zena.